Hey everybody, and happy Easter, happy Passover. I think there's another holiday in there as well. I don't know all of them. Those two I do know. Hopefully you're enjoying your long weekend that started a month ago. Like, it's so funny. It's like, what day is it? They all kind of run together when you're working from home. So hopefully everybody is safe and enjoying some family time and maybe some good eating, only with immediate family. Those are the rules these days. So happy Easter, happy Passover. I also want to let you know that last week, if you want to support the channel and get a question answered right away, you can use the super chat at the bottom of the chat window. There's a little dollar sign there. Click on that, support the channel, get a question in, and away you go. Also, there's a link up in the corner here to support the channel through Patreon, if you feel inclined. No pressure. All right, let's get into the go through a few here. Ahmed is from Morocco. How cool is that? I've been to South Africa, but I haven't been to North Africa. The closest I've been is to Tenerife, which is off the coast of Morocco. Christy from South Carolina. We have Roy Park from Surrey, Guildford area. The first question is from Bruce. I had two Jettas 30 years ago. I thought they were expensive to service. I was told parts had to come from Germany. Now we're in the 2020s. Is there a reason why German cars are expensive to maintain? I would bet you if you actually went and looked at the service schedule for a new Jetta, for example, compared to a new Corolla or any other compact car, the cost to service it would be probably pretty close. Now, parts, as you mentioned, might be more expensive. I don't know. The thing is that a lot of the parts for the Jetta, for example, are made now in North America because the car is made in Mexico. So all of those parts come from our part of the world. And here's the interesting thing, though. So you're talking about 30 years ago, a Jetta. I had an old Toyota years ago. And I remember I had to buy a kick-down switch for the transmission and something else, and the parts were extortionately expensive for that car. My brother had an Acura, and he had to get some parts for that car, and they were very expensive. So I don't think expensive parts are a domain of just the import German brands. Roy Park from Guildford, looking to lease one of Celto's Turbo, and will use Car Cost Canada using promo code. I'm wondering how it exactly works when it comes to purchasing timeline. Okay, so thank you very much, Roy, for bringing that up. Car Cost Canada is the main sponsor of our channel. Use the promo code MOTORMOUTH. It opens up more searches for you. So here's a perfect example of somebody looking at a Celtos. You can type in SX. I think that's the, I can't remember where the turbo starts on that. And you can get any of the discounts that are happening this month, any interest rate reductions, any secret rebates, and also what the dealer paid for it. Now, you can ask the customer service department at Car Cost Canada to help broker the deal for you. So they will reach out to a preferred dealer. Now, you're in Guildford. It might be in Richmond. It might be somewhere else in Vancouver. But they will do an introduction on your behalf to a dealer that is sort of part of their Car Cost Canada network. You know what the cost of the car is, and they sort of give you some guidelines and help you negotiate the deal. So if you're considering Car Cost Canada, and I strongly suggest you do, because Roy's going to get some excellent pricing options, what you can do is then lean on them to help you facilitate the deal. Or you can print it out, go into the dealer and say, this is what you paid for the car, let's start negotiating. Sometimes they get their backup. So it might be better to use Car Cost Canada to help you with that. Okay. Would I also be able to pick the dealer and salesman who will contact me? Yes, you can do it that way. You can do it yourself, or you can have them do it for you. Eric V, good evening, Zach. How is the gas price in British Columbia right now? Also, please compare car insurance between BC versus Ontario. Stay safe. Fuel prices I saw are just below $1 a liter here in the Vancouver area. I saw it around 94 cents a liter. Might be a little cheaper in some places. I know in other parts of Canada the price is way cheaper. We have, do you know what we have here in British Columbia? You know what we love? Tax, tax, tax. So we have higher carbon tax. We have a transit tax to help pay for the buses and stuff, and we just have a tax because it's nicer here. So yeah, it's more expensive. Now, Here's the big difference between sort of a state-run insurance scheme versus private insurance. In British Columbia, we have the Insurance Corporation of British Columbia, basically a state-run insurance monopoly, and you have to buy your basic insurance through them. You can buy secondary insurance with another provider. The biggest difference is, excuse me, if each individual car is insured here, it's not so much the individual, it's the car. Where if you live in Ontario, you could have a family of 3 or 4 people and have a bunch of cars all under one insurance policy. In British Columbia, each insurance policy is for each individual car. So it can get much more expensive. Excuse me. So if you have a bunch of cars, like you have a collector car, you have 2 family cars, you're paying for all of them at a higher rate. It can get expensive. Michael Johnson, hey Zach, do you know why Volkswagen didn't go more aggressive on the exterior styling of the Golf R like they did with the Civic Type R or the M2 with the bulging fenders? This would have been a perfect question for me when I was going to the Geneva Motor Show. I was scheduled to go to the Geneva Motor Show, and I was scheduled to do an interview with the guy who was the head of the R department for Volkswagen. So I could have asked him. All I can tell you is Volkswagen's whole design ethos isn't to do the big flying wings and fenders and stuff like that, unless it is a proper race car. They have the more sort of subdued styling. And I have had a chance to talk to Klaus Bischoff several times. He's the head of Volkswagen Design, a sort of subdued kind of guy. So I think that's just part of their whole sort of image. It's not about being over the top. It's all about being subdued and German. But that would have been a great question. All right. What's your opinion on a used European plug-in hybrid such as the last gen X5e or the 330e? Do you see any reliability issues on those? Well, what you're looking at is the reliability issues of expensive German cars to maintain, plus an added layer of electronics. I'm not really a fan of those first gen versions of those. I just don't think they have much in the way of range. They're okay. Yeah, you can have a kick around. What I would do is, I don't know any particulars on those models, is there are lots of forums that you can go on, and Roadfly, I think, is the one for BMW. You can type in BMW forums and you'll find one on those particular cars and maybe ask people who own them, or have them now. They were pretty sort of not the best efforts in my opinion. I think the newer ones are better. Hey Zach, do you like the new fog lights for the Mark 8 VW GTI? Same thing, I was supposed to be in Geneva for the launch of the GTI, interview with the head of the R department for Volkswagen, and look at the ID4. It didn't happen. That was the first casualty. I think it's kind of one of those things that you probably have to see it in person. You know, when you see a car for the first time in pictures, often it doesn't really do great things for you. It's when you see it in person. A lot of negative comments about the new Mark 8 Golf. There's a video on the channel. I got a chance to drive it in December in Portugal, and a lot of people don't like the look of it. I would say when you see it in person, it looks better, and I think the GTI will be that as well. Goldfish J 2020 YT. I live in Chicago. I got to tell you, Goldfish J YT 2020. Went to Chicago for the very first time in October for my son's grade 12, I guess in the United States you call it senior year in high school trip, as a sort of a, and it's good that we got it in, because now we wouldn't be doing it at the end of the school year. Went to Chicago for the first time. The weather the first day was crap. The next day was gorgeous. We did the river tour, or the architectural tour, walked along the waterfront. If you have never been to Chicago, wow, what a beautiful, beautiful city. Amazing food, friendly people. My God, everybody says Canadians are so friendly. I got to tell you, that Midwest hospitality, that deep dish pizza. We went to a Blackhawks game. We went to a Bulls game. I know when it was. You could find the exact weekend we were there. It was the season opener for the Bulls. We got Sir Frederick here from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. So I'm asking people where they are. It's kind of nice to see where everybody is. Your opinion on the 2018 Audi A4. Now, if you haven't been watching these live shows before, I'm a huge fan of the A4. I think the A4 is a really good car. Great on fuel, just powerful enough to have some fun, feels light when you drive it, a great engine, married to a really nicely paired automatic transmission. I think they did a very good job with it. So now you're looking at a car that's 2 years old. Make sure if you're buying one to get a certified pre-owned warranty. Try and get it under warranty as long as you can. Ed is in Nova Scotia. I love Nova Scotia. We did the north, what do you call it? Not the North Shore, the north coast of Nova Scotia, Fox Harbor. For the guy who owns Tim Hortons, we went to Fox Harbor. That was pretty cool there with Mercedes. Were there any cars that scared you while driving? In the, what year would it have been? In the 90s, I remember having a Corvette and driving it. This would have been the C6, I guess. Driving it in the rain, and the whole thing just steps right out on me, and I'm heading sideways right towards the guardrail. That was no fun. But the big, huge tires on a Corvette in the rain, I didn't like that. Anyway, I couldn't wait to take it back. If you know you're going to keep your job during this pandemic, is now the time to buy a car? Well, Nick, absolutely. I've been saying that for a long time. If you know you have a job, if you are a firefighter, a school teacher, a nurse, a doctor, usually civil servants, a banker is probably pretty safe these days, but are you pretty secure in the fact that you're going to have a job? In the next 30 to 60 days, there are going to be some sweet deals, I tell you. So carcostcanada.com, if you're in Canada, you can find out what the dealer paid for the car, any incentives, rebates, any discounted interest rates. You will find those. Use the promo code MOTORMOUTH, the name of this channel. It opens up more searches for you. Use the service. Other people will be on here probably saying they saved lots of money on using the service, so please use it. Oh, my favorite handle is here. DJ Pleasure Seeking Missile. Welcome back, DJ. Good evening, Zach. Would you lease a 2020 Alfa Romeo Giulia or buy an 1819 model with over 40% depreciation? Thanks and stay safe. You can have it both ways, my friend. You can get an 18 or a 19 and lease it, okay? Now think about that. If Alfa or FCA is not going to release their used cars, you can get an independent lease company to do that. So therefore, you've got some protection on the downside. Or you could just buy it with the depreciation baked in at 40%. But remember, things that depreciate don't stop when you buy it. They continue going down. So the only nice thing about leasing a new one from FCA is the fact that you know what the depreciation is going to be. So it's really a bit of a roll of the dice. What you can do is go to CanadianBlackBook.com and type in 2018 Giulia, and it has a forward projection for what they believe the depreciation curve is going to look like. So you can look at that. Please do a review of the 2020 Toyota Highlander. I was supposed to get it next week. I was supposed to get the Highlander. Then they pulled it off the media fleet because of the whole COVID thing. We're starting to get some cars coming back into the media fleet, so that's good news. So I'm not starved for cars right now. It looked pretty dire there for a while, but yeah, more cars coming on. So when the Highlander is available, I will review it. My pal Brian Chow of Everyday Reviews, he was the last one to get the Highlander, and his review is online. Okay, so watch his. My buddy Brian. Hey Zach, the current Frontier is long overdue for a rework, but is it terrible? Any news on an updated model given the mid-size market? I think there is actually, and the thing is, this is one of those trucks where you can get a great deal on it. So have a look around. Same thing again. Car Cost Canada. Pickup trucks is one of the most incentivized categories, period. You don't typically get a lot of incentives when you're looking at Tacomas and Tundras, but maybe over there at Nissan, I haven't looked at one ever, so I would go and have a look, but you probably get a really, really good deal on one. I do believe there is a new one coming. And they don't market that truck at all. They let Toyota run away with sales of the Tacoma with no competition from the domestic brands. You know, they got rid of the Colorado and the Canyon and all the other small trucks. Now they're back in the marketplace, but Nissan was left all alone with Toyota. They didn't market the crap out of that truck. I would have. I mean, Toyota ran away with market share. Bruno, hey Bruno, nice to see you back here. I know that you mentioned that you couldn't see any special deals for Porsche, but in the US, VW Group has launched 0% APR, up to 72 months financing, including Lamborghini. Looking forward to CA. Well, yeah, I would say those are the sorts of things that you would see. You would see incentives placed around things like interest rates. Of course, they're borrowing the money at next to nothing or nothing. So it's really not a lot of hardship for them to pass those savings on to you for the lease and finance rates. Now, on mainline cars like Macan and Cayenne, you might start to get a little bit of incentive room. Somebody asked earlier about, you know, the Boxster or the Cayman GTS 4.0, if there's going to be any discounts on cars. No, I don't think there's going to be any discounts on very sort of lower volume performance sports cars from Porsche, but some of the mainline cars, you might actually start to get some of those things. Hey, we got a top chat coming in. I like when people hit that. Hey, my second favorite handle. You might move to number one now that you've done a top chat. Huge Haggis. I like Huge Haggis. By the way, I'm Scottish. I should probably explain why I like Huge Haggis. Both my mom and dad are from Edinburgh in Scotland. I spoke to my mom this morning in Scotland, asking her how she lives in Edinburgh, asking her how she's doing with this whole COVID-19 thing. And I think it should be called COVID-19 because we're all going to put on 19 pounds staying at home and eating. So yeah, that's why I like the name Huge Haggis. Do you think this will be a wake-up call to consumers, i.e. buying a car they can afford in 60 months rather than 72 to 85? I don't think. I think what it'll do is it will make people sit up and pay attention for a while. I think we will go back to our old habits. As soon as we get a vaccine in the marketplace and there's no masks, there's no social distancing, there's no restrictions, air travel returns to normal. We're talking, 18 months to 2 years from now. I think people will start to revert to their old ways. Between now and then, I think you're probably going to see a resurgence in brands that do particularly well when times are tough. Think of Kia, think of Hyundai. Those brands did exceptionally well through the crisis of 08-09. And you're going to start to see the brands that are the most assertive when it comes to marketing, the most assertive when it comes to pricing options, and those things like 0% interest. People will start to think about, maybe I won't buy Toyota, maybe I'll buy a Kia. Those sorts of discussions start to play. And it's going to be very interesting. But I think when life returns to normal, whenever that is, a year, 18 months, 2 years from now, people will revert to their old habits. We're just creatures of habit, unfortunately. Getting a 2020 MX5. Richmond Mazda was nice enough to bring one in from Edmonton. An order was put in with Mazda Canada in early March, but for some unknown reason, Mazda canceled their order COVID-19. Well, there you go. That's the thing. Sometimes you can get the dealer to look in their network to find a car if you're looking for a particular color, for example. Hey, Zach, is there Car Cost USA? GTI guy, I don't know. I would suspect there are sort of buying. If anybody knows, please write below because I don't know. I should, but I don't. I deal with Car Cost Canada, but it's a great service. Hopefully there is. I bet you there is. Hey, Zach, do you know any technical details about the new Mark 8 Golf R? No. I have been told by Thomas Tetzlaff, who is the head of PR for Volkswagen Canada, all he said is, I have seen the car and you will like the car. That's all he told me. He said, I've seen the GTI, you've seen it now too. I've seen the Golf R, and he said, usually when we bring out a new model, it isn't slower. So there you go. I think if you can read between the lines, it's going to look good and it's going to go faster. Wouldn't it be nice? Now, wouldn't it be nice to have the RS3 engine, the 5-cylinder, in a Golf R? I don't know, but wouldn't that be cool? Hey Zach, I'm in Vancouver. Was wondering if you missed driving your 993 considering spectacular weather and hardly any traffic on the roads. Oh yeah, and they're extremely cheap gas. Yeah, so I own two air-cooled 911s. Both of them were 993s. Both of them were the same year. 1997, I had a C2S, and then I had a C4S. And if I was to do it again, even though the C2S is more collectible, I would do the C4S again. For those times when it does rain, because those cars don't have traction or stability control or anything. So having the all-wheel drive was really handy. Do I miss driving the 993? I don't really miss driving it that much, to be honest with you, because there are no really good roads here. People say, you know, you live in Vancouver, you must have these great mountain roads. Everybody thinks that we have roads like they have just outside of LA through all those canyons, fantastic roads just minutes outside of Los Angeles. We don't have that. We've got one sort of twisty road up to Whistler. That's it. So unfortunately, a lot of the driving I did with that car was not that sort of inspired. Now the C2S, I did take to the track when I had it, and I wouldn't do it now because they're worth too much money. Hello from Montreal. Are you aware of the problem with the 5-liter in the Ford F-150 and Mustang? Tick or kind of piston slap? I don't know that. I didn't know that. So what you should do, and this is what I always suggest, is people go to forums and read what the people are saying on the forums. If you're concerned about that, that's something you should look up. Mike Shaw is here with a top chat, super chat. Thank you, Mike. Thanks again for the live streams. Really enjoy them and your reviews, especially anything to do with Porsche. Well, it's funny, you know. I was going through all the videos I've done over the last 10 years, and I do disproportionately lean more towards German cars. I just like them. And so I guess when it comes to booking cars and getting invited to go on trips with manufacturers, I tend to go on a lot from Porsche, Volkswagen, and Audi. People say I'm a Volkswagen Group fanboy. Maybe I am. I did a lot of Mercedes ones too. For a while, but that changed. They got rid of the head of PR here in Canada for some new people and just not getting the invites. Hey Zach, I just moved from Calgary to Vancouver. Do you think I'll need a block heater in my Tiguan? Are you doing comedy here? Do you think I'll need a block heater? Oh, sorry, I thought it was the other way around. I just moved from Calgary to Vancouver. No, I just moved to Calgary from Vancouver. I thought you were doing comedy there. I would probably ask your neighbors, to be honest with you, and probably yes. It's not a bad thing when it gets very cold, and it can get very cold there. But yeah, ask around your neighbors and see what they suggest. You might want to try it for winter without, but yeah, and find out from the dealer how hard it is to have it installed. But my condolences. Nothing wrong with Calgary, but after you've lived in Vancouver with the mild winters here, you get kind of spoiled. What the hell? Huge Haggis is saying gas prices are, what did he say here? Sorry, it's jumped around again. Thanks again for the live stream. Anything to do with Porsche? Sorry, it's jumped around here. Let me find out where the hell I am. Yeah, 65 cents in Windsor, Ontario for gas? A lot of people don't know the origins of gasoline and oil in the world started in southwestern Ontario, not far from Windsor, in a small town called Petrolia, which is why it's called petroleum. Or maybe it's the other way around. Anyway, Petrolia, near Windsor, Ontario, there's still oil derricks pumping oil out of the ground, and that's kind of that's the birthplace of oil in Canada. Crazy, right? Major audio delay here, Zach. What the hell? I frickin' check it every single time. I don't know what I can do. I apologize. ND Squash, what are your top 3 negotiating strategies when purchasing a new vehicle? First thing is, do not tell them whether you're buying, leasing, or purchasing, like if you're financing, leasing, or purchasing the car outright. Just negotiate the price of the car. Always start with the price of the car. If you're going to lease the car, you're going to negotiate it off the lower payment. So negotiate the car, be realistic that they have to run a business and keep the lights on, and the sales guy's got to make a commission. But having knowledge going in, so the first thing I would do is find out roughly what the price of the car is. So going to carcostcanada.com, you're not only going to roughly find out, you're going to find exactly what the dealer paid for it. Also, be willing to leave and go to another dealership. If you get close to a price that you're happy with, walk away and just say to the guy, you have my number. When you want to do a deal, let me know. It's easy when you're shopping for a mainline car like a Camry or a RAV4 or a CRV, where there's loads of them. If it's specific in a very narrow market and not many around, then you have to sort of find the best deal you can. So those are things that I would do. Do not pay for extras, in my opinion, at the dealer. Just pay for the car and for the taxes and drive it away. That's how you can save your money. So we're getting some Celtos questions here. I have not driven the car yet. It's going to be coming eventually. When I get a chance to drive it, I will tell you all about it, and there'll be a review. It just came out. Hey, Zach, people don't buy manuals and use the excuse, I can't drive stick. It's more like they're too lazy to learn, in my opinion. Well, it kind of goes both ways. Here's a perfect example. My wife is actually a very good driver. She's got zero interest in learning to drive a manual because she says, I can drive an automatic. So it's not that she's lazy, she's not interested in it. And for a lot of good reasons. I mean, automatics now are as efficient and oftentimes faster than driving manual. It's kind of like an old way of doing things. It's like typing out a letter on an old-fashioned typewriter. It does the job. Is it better? It's different, but I agree that it's not that they're lazy, they just don't want to learn because automatics do the job. Hey Zach, in 2020 Passat is the best in-class rear legroom. What's your take on the full-size sedan, best interior room? I would say Passat, yeah, is a huge back seat, huge trunk. I would have, there's not a lot of choices out there anymore. If you want big back seat, that is going to be the clear winner. And if you don't need a seat that big, the Jetta has a big back seat. 65 cents a liter in Nova Scotia, but I haven't seen a gas station for a month. Drove about 50 kilometers since lockdown. They requested non-essential driving. That is true. Yeah, everybody's driving a very little. And that's another reason why we're seeing fuel prices so low, because people are staying home. What are your thoughts on the Tesla Model 3? Do you think it's a car you lease or a car you buy? I'm concerned about maintenance and battery longevity. I believe it's only finance right now. I don't think there is leasing in play. So I wouldn't worry so much about battery longevity. But as with anything that's technology driven, whether it's your phone or whatever, there's always going to be a newer, updated, better version. So at some point, you just got to jump in. Thoughts on an X1 and buying German when I only drive about 18,000 kilometers a year? Well, there's nothing wrong with that car for driving that amount. You're not driving really abnormally low amount. The average is about 20 to 25,000 kilometers a year, so you're only just under that. I wouldn't worry about that. And it's a fine vehicle. I like the X1 a lot. No, I think it would be fine. Hey, listen, the vehicle that we have, we only drive about 8,000 kilometers a year. We live right in the middle of the city and drive it for work and for some pleasure use, and it doesn't add up the miles that much, but yeah, I wouldn't worry about it at all. Hey, Zach, do you think the EPA should update the way they calculate miles per gallon? People report that their turbo engines aren't getting the estimated MPGs, not an issue with naturally aspirated motors. Well, the thing is that at least the EPA went to a 5-cycle test. We used to have city and highway. It was very short distances and very limited speeds. Then they brought in the additional cold start, air conditioning, and higher speed acceleration test. And that brought in more realistic numbers. And it got mirrored, I should say, here in Canada. We only had the 2-cycle test until a few years ago. So now at least we have a better representation. It's never going to be real world driving. The good thing is, if you go to epa.gov, you can see not only what the EPA numbers are, but you can also see what average drivers have reported, which is a nice feature. You can see the official numbers and you can see what real people who drive the car report. The problem with turbocharged engines is even in those limited 5-cycle tests, you're not straining the engine the same way that you do when you're driving everyday situations. And when you have turbocharged power, you use the power more often, use that torque. So it's just a function of the way the tests are done. So if you want better representation of what the mileage is, go to epa.gov and look at what people have reported. I asked previously about used diesel SUVs, and you were down on the diesel Grand Cherokee, yet you were very pro Grand Cherokee otherwise. Is it just diesel engine you dislike, or older Grand Cherokees in general? No, I like the Grand Cherokee a lot. Like I would, if I didn't have the SUV I have now, I would have a Grand Cherokee. I think it's a great product. And it is one of the real shining stars at FCA when it comes to reliability. The only reason I have a question mark next to the 3-liter diesel engine is that it had some issues initially. They did have some complaints with the engine. It's a Via Motore engine that's being used extensively in Europe, but the emissions scrubbing that went onto it, and they got caught out in this whole Dieselgate thing as well. Bosch who does the scrubbing after treatment on that engine, was implicated in it. So same thing again. If there's a particular year or any changes they made to the engine, please go to a Jeep forum and ask people who own the Jeep generally what they think. The only thing I suggest is that other brands have been doing diesels longer. But I do like it. I think it's a wonderful vehicle. I just don't know about the reliability of that specific engine. Okay, so please do a little bit more research on your own. Find a Jeep Grand Cherokee forum, ask the people who own the diesels questions, and you'll get a better answer. For example, the Jeep Liberty with the 4-cylinder diesel, there was a lot of problems with that diesel engine for the exhaust gas regeneration thing, and it was clogging, the valve was clogging up, and that was a real problem. So please look it up. But other than that, Grand Cherokee, great product. Hey Zach, I'm planning on buying a compact SUV. Which one would you suggest, 2020 CR-V or the Mazda CX-5? I think if you can afford to buy the CX-5 Turbo, that is hands down a clear winner. The interior of the CX-5, hands down clear winner. Handling, hands down clear winner. Space, it isn't the clear winner. The CR-V is a better functionality for the back seat and the cargo area. It really is a really well designed vehicle for getting people and stuff in and out of. I don't mind the cabin. It's a bit plastic fantastic, but other than that, it does the job. It has a continuously variable transmission where the CX-5 has a 6-speed automatic transmission. I'll take a regular cogged automatic over a CVT any day of the week. Go and drive them both, see which one you like. There's no wrong answer. There have been some reliability issues with the CR-V around, not really reliability, but oil dilution issues. Honda claims they've fixed it for 2020 with software updates, but try them both and see which one you like. So would we see the next gen Tiguan in North America? Will it be better in terms of performance and tech? I hate halogen headlamps in the current gen. The car is going to be coming, probably not this year, but next year. It will be due for a refresh. I agree with you. I think they could improve horsepower. They know that. They've heard that loud and clear. So I would suspect there's going to be some kind of performance bump. Is it going to be massive? I don't know, but they'll probably give some kind of performance bump. We've seen with their latest vehicle, the Atlas. I did a quick video, I don't have the picture here, of the update for the Atlas that they just introduced. And it is coming with full LED headlamps as standard equipment. That probably won't be the case on the base model with Tiguan. You don't know though. Yeah, it's probably going to get a facelift and hopefully a horsepower bump. And I would suspect things like that will be addressed. I haven't heard anything this year. It's probably going to be next year. Okay. And if you think about it, the Tiguan came out before the Atlas, and the Atlas has already had a facelift. So think about that. It is going to be due for one. Hey, Zach from New York State, Finger Lakes. That is a beautiful part of the world. Any thoughts on how long we should leave our cars undriven in a parking space? I can clearly remember driving to New York City, drove up the 401 to Kingston, crossed just at Kingston and then down through the Finger Lakes to New York City. Great drive. You can leave your car undriven probably indefinitely. If you start it once in a while, I wouldn't worry about it too long. If it's been parked for a month now, it shouldn't be an issue. If you want, you can start it up every week or every 2 weeks. The one thing you want to check is the battery. If there's a parasitic loss into the system from the alarm or whatever, the battery can be depleted. So one thing you might want to consider if you don't plan on driving the car at all is to inflate the tires a little bit so you don't get any flat spots on the tires. And you can get a trickle charger. Go to your hardware store. It plugs into the cigarette lighter and it's a battery tender. It just keeps the voltage. So if you think about a parasitic loss, you've got energy coming out of the battery ever so slightly, like for the alarm, for example, and you're drawing down that power day after day, week after week. When you put this plug in the cigarette lighter, you're keeping the battery at that happy place. Okay, that's really what it does. You're never going to charge the battery with it, but it's going to keep it. It's called a battery tender. You can get them at most parts supply stores. It doesn't have to be brand specific. I have one up here somewhere. I'll show you one. I've got one here. They gave it to me when I got my Cayenne. So it looks like this. This is the Porsche one. It can be anything. So you just plug that into your cigarette lighter. There's a little module here, and then you plug this into the wall, and that's it. And that'll keep your battery in good shape. So that's one thing for sure. Start the car. The problem with starting the car is when you don't warm a car up fully, you can get condensation building in the exhaust system, but that can happen. I really wouldn't worry about it. If it's a month or 2 months, it's probably going to be fine. Do you think the power boost coming to the Mark 8 GTI will be applied to the GLI? Yeah, if you think about it, the GLI has always been the GTI with a trunk, and so yeah, I think that will be the case. Raj from Mississauga, Zurich, Switzerland. All right. Good to see people here from all over the world. Derek Zimmerman, Zach, shopping for a low mileage 10th gen Civic in Ottawa, seeing SI at 3,000 to 5,000 less than the hatchback. What would you share about that? I'm trying to remember 10th generation Honda Civic SI. Which engine did that have? I'm trying to remember now. Let me have a quick look online here. 10th gen Honda Civic. Now you can see I type with 2 fingers. Images. Okay, that one. Yeah, the current one. It's just that it has the smaller turbocharged engine, the SI. I like the car a lot. I think that there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's a fine car. I would say, you know what it probably is? It's probably because it's only available with a manual transmission. And a lot of people don't drive manual. I would think it's probably just that. You can get the hatch with an automatic. I don't know why it would be that much less. It's a great car. I love driving it. Ian Mitchell, hi from London. I used to live in London for many years. I think that's London, Ontario. Cheers from Montreal. Thanks for the great car talks. Keep us entertained. Well, I appreciate that. Fareed, just wanted to say hi. Hope your family's well, and cheers. What watch are you wearing? I'm wearing my, what is it again? My Zodiac Seawolf that I bought just before Christmas as a present to me. It was an impulse buy. Is Mazda bringing the MX-30 electric to Canada? Looks like a great looking alternative to the i3. Love the suicide doors. The MX-30 electric is coming. It is coming. Hey, Zach, what are your thoughts on Honda's partnership with GM to build EVs for Honda? I think it's great. And you're going to start to see this more and more. Companies are going to do more and more partnerships. And I think that's great. I mean, they're basically sharing the electric components of the Bolt system. Those are LG Chem batteries. And basically the system was developed in the Korean partnership with LG Chem. Yeah, they're basically, it's a sharing. There's going to be a lot, I mean, quite a few General Motors products. And if General Motors can share the costs with another manufacturer, then they will make sure they don't have entirely competing vehicles. I think it's good technology. And maybe we might get some of the plug-in technology that Honda's developed, like for the Clarity, or maybe they're going to get some hydrogen technology, because they do have their fuel cell technology. So maybe that's part of it that we don't know about. But more of this is going to be happening, this sharing. I think it's great. And here's the thing. People crap all over General Motors. They know how to make some pretty good stuff. And General Motors, the one thing you don't realize is it's a huge engineering company, massive amounts of engineering brain power, and they can do a lot of good things. And right now they're working on ventilators, so good for them. 718 Cayman S, how cheap will they become in the next year or two? It all depends on what's going to happen with the next generation of Cayman and Boxster. Of course, the GTS, I had a chance to drive it. The review is on the channel with the 4.0 liter flat six. Fantastic. That's the one I would stretch to buy. I am more in the camp of, I would go for a 6-cylinder Cayman or Boxster that was sold up to 2016. I understand kind of why they did it, but I just don't love it like the naturally aspirated 6-cylinder versus a turbo 4. Now, if the next version is what a lot of people are speculating is going to be pure electric, they could be collectible. If they do come out with a gasoline version of the Cayman and Boxster, and they go back to the 6-cylinder, then I don't think they'll hold their value at all. There's a lot of ifs in there. I have an 18 Volvo XC90 Inscription with air suspension, 21-inch tires, but I'm not happy with the way it rides. Is the suspension better on the Q7 or the Mercedes GLE 350? Here's the thing. I don't like air suspension. You might be suffering from what I don't like. I don't like this sort of like mushy kind of feel. Now, some of them, when you turn them up to their sportiest settings and you get those bladders firm bladders, they can feel quite responsive. The GLE, for example, even on its sportiest setting, didn't feel as responsive as I would like. I prefer a passive shock and spring. If I was going to buy XC90 or a GLE, I would buy the passive spring and shock. I encourage you to try that. Don't just go right towards an air suspension. I don't love it. I mean, some people like it. I don't like it. Same with the Lincoln products. The new Lincolns. There's just way too much of this, and not my thing. Hey, from Maple Ridge, thoughts on the 19 or 20 Mazda 5 GT Turbo? Mazda 5 GT Turbo. Mazda 5 GT Turbo. CX5, I think, is what you're talking about, because there's no Mazda 5 anymore. Hoping to get one this year and not sure it should get a discount. Okay, so you're asking, should you get a discounted 19 or a full price 20? Well, just remember, if you're buying a 19, and the fact they still have some on the lot is a bit alarming, you have to look at what the depreciated value of that vehicle is. So you can do some research on your own. Go to CanadianBlackBook.com and look up what the residual value decrease is. And the other thing is, if you go to CarCostCanada.com, you can type in another year. So if there are any incentives in play on those older models, you'll be able to see. And there might be some secret incentives or rebates or discounts that you're not aware of and the dealer isn't telling you, and you'll only find that at CarCostCanada.com. There are no changes between the two models from what I understand. I don't think there's anything significant. It might be something minor. So are you motivated by price? If you can get a really good discount on a 19, it's probably not a bad way to go. What do you think Honda can do to improve their hybrids? From what I hear, the engine tends to drone on the highway because there's no transmission. Would love to hear your thoughts. Actually, the last time I was driving one of the hybrids, I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. So I would disagree with that. You need to try it out for yourself. The problem that Honda has is that their brand isn't synonymous with hybrids. Toyota is. That's their biggest issue, is they had a competitor that just beat the hybrid drum for 20 years. And now when I say hybrid, you think Toyota. But last time I drove one, I thought it was fine. I disagree with that. I see ads saying 2020 base models dropping in price. I assume GT models will not drop in price because the car was manufactured in Korea. Is this correct? I'm not sure what car you're talking about. Brent in Toronto. Hey, Brent, nice to have you here. Good evening. Shout out from Vancouver. Looking for a used station wagon, Vancouver. Which would you recommend? An A4 all-road, an E400, or a C300? I really like the C300 a lot. I think it was a great car. E400 is pretty nice size. That's a nice size car, much bigger than the others. So you have to ask yourself, do you need a mid-size E-Class station wagon? If you do like that size of station wagon, well, there's your answer. If it's between the other two, I thought the C300 was excellent. I don't think there's a wrong answer of the three here. Get out there and try them and see which one you like. I think the A4 package generally is fantastic. I think the C-Class package is generally fantastic. And the E-Class, you probably need to try it to see if you like it. It has been a little bit pokey in the past, so make sure you like it. It comes down to size. I think they're all great choices. And the fact you're looking for a wagon is cool, because if you buy one, somebody sold it, they have to buy another one. It keeps the wagon thing going. Can ZF 8-speed transmission be used on front-wheel drive cars? I'm wondering why some manufacturers use the much-hated 9-speed instead of the 8-speed. Yeah, the 8-speed, from what I understand, it might not be the exact same 8-speed like you're thinking, like a BMW 3 Series. Is it the same transmission as something that's available with a front-wheel drive? I'm not sure if there's many differences between. What they do, though, is you got to remember, when car companies develop engines and transmissions, it's for a family of vehicles, right? So, for example, an engine and transmission will need to go into one car and then go into another car. It's not just developed for that one car, okay? So that's what you have to remember. And when they do these things, they're doing it because it's not just going to be used for this, it's going to be used for something else. All right, I would suggest that if you can find the 8-speed, it's probably going to be better than the 9-speed ZF transmission, which was problematic. A lot of the brands have done a lot of software updates on them to make them much better. There's been examples, though, where I've driven the ZF transmission, the 9-speed, in like the Land Rover Discovery Sport, and I thought that was the actual highlight of the vehicle, is the transmission. And then you get it in other executions, like they used it in the Honda Pilot, didn't like it. So really comes down to the way it's being tuned. If it's a question mark for you, and it should be, then look for an 8-speed or a 6-speed. Any thoughts on the Mercedes EQC? Will they be worth the wait? Do you think the current situation will result in even more additional delay? It could be. I'm not sure exactly what the issue is. Isn't a major delay, but there is a little audio delay. I apologize for that. I checked it before we went live, and I thought I had it nailed down, so I apologize. The EQC, I watched the review. I drove it, was it May of last year already in Norway? My takeaway from the whole thing is this thing is fully baked. Like, I thought they did a great job with it. I like the EQC size. I like the GLC generally. I think it's a really nice size utility, and it handles very well. And I thought they had done an excellent job with the one that I drove. So I'm not sure exactly what the delays are. I have read there are delays, but it felt more nimble and fun to drive than the e-tron. And the e-tron felt, you know, a little slower, bigger, of course, but that's something to consider. Yeah, I would do more reading on that. Off the top of my head, I don't know all the reasons behind it. Yale says, rest in peace, Sir Stirling Moss. Yes, 90 years old, passed away today. That's a pretty damn good run, especially for a race car driver in that era where guys went down like flies to make it through a career as a race car driver. He was the guy who won more second places in world championships without ever winning. I did a little research on Stirling Moss beforehand. Yeah, quite the guy. Hey Zach, you've test driven the Explorer and the Telluride. What would you say is better, such as size, ride, and value? Cannot really get out driving during this time. I think the Telluride, I have a Palisade I'm picking up on Tuesday, but I think those two vehicles, I haven't driven the Highlander yet, but I would suggest that until I get a chance to drive the Highlander, they are the clear winners. I just think they did a fantastic job. And the Kia Telluride, if you didn't hear the news, last week won the World Car of the Year. And they made that announcement as a virtual release. I think it's just fantastic. And in the Canadian market, I think Kia did a better job of packaging the cars. For example, the larger screen you get on all but the base model, I believe, of Telluride, where on the Palisade, it's only available on the top trim. Things like the wireless charging is on every version of Telluride. Not the case. It's only the top trim of the Palisade. So I think absolutely it is the vehicle to beat, in my opinion, until I get a chance to drive the Highlander. So stick around. I'm getting the Telluride in a few weeks. I'll be doing another review of it. So stick around. Okay, it seems like the audio delay is probably a streaming thing. I apologize for that. It's not the software. Are your sons old enough to drive? Are they interested in what you do for a living? My oldest son is 17, doesn't have his driver's license yet. A generational thing. They just don't seem motivated. My younger son is 15, and he says when he turns 16, he's getting his license right away. So it's and they're not interested in what I do. Every car you can imagine is being parked in front of my house. They don't even look at them. It's quite interesting that, one generation, my generation, all we thought about were cars, and young kids today, all they care about is phones and video games and being online with their friends. Quite interesting. It's good that you guys are all here, though. Dodge Caravan 2019, how good are they? They are a very good product. I have zero issues recommending a Dodge Grand Caravan. Now, some people will say, wait a second, Zach, Dodge Grand Caravan, listen, you want to get the most vehicle you can for your dollar. There is nothing on the road that can touch a Dodge Grand Caravan for what you pay for it. Comes with a very proven 3.6 liter Pentastar engine. Comes with, it's six speed or 8 speed now? I'm trying to remember. Anyway, you can get the power doors, the flip and fold seats, and all that kind of stuff. It's a product that has been made for decades, and now they're going to stop making it. So some great deals on those products. So yeah, maybe you might have a few issues down the road with it, but you didn't pay much for it, and you got the ability to move, all those people around. I have zero issues recommending the Grand Caravan. I think it's a great product. I like the Pacifica too. I think of all of the minivans, the Pacifica is the best handling. It's just expensive. Boston Ma, nice to have you back. Can you give us a rundown of what Porsche did on your Cayenne diesel for service and cost of it? Also, what are the maintenance cost of repairs you had on it? Okay, so Boston, you're referring to, I just did a service on my Cayenne. It wasn't cheap because it was a 4-year service. That is the major service. So in Canadian dollars, an annual service, just to do an oil change and whatever you have, is probably $400 to $500, okay? That's an annual service. A major service is closer to $1,000, okay? And you don't do that all the time. So my next service, the one I'll have next year, will be down around $400. So the oil for the diesel engine is much more expensive. The filters are more expensive, a bit more maintenance to do it. I'm quite happy to pay that because I think that the vehicle is just fantastic. Now, the extra costs and repairs, I've had none. I bought the car and there was one problem with the Bluetooth microphone. So the microphone is hidden in a compartment up here. So when you're talking and driving along, it wasn't for me. It was the person that was on their phone at the other end. You could hear a kind of a rattling noise. It was like the microphone was banging against something. They changed that. That's the only issue I've had with the product. It is going in on Tuesday to get a software update for the emissions system. So that's the second update for the TDI engine. So I have had, other than the microphone thing, That's it in 2 years. And yes, it costs money to keep it maintained. But if you're buying a Porsche, you're buying a BMW, Mercedes, an Audi, or a Jag, or any premium car, the maintenance costs are higher. All right, top chat is in again. Who do we have here? Blue Ribbons. Telluride. I own a Canadian EX model. Now nobody can get it. Over $10,000 premium in US now. For once, I made a wise decision in my life about an automobile. Well, congratulations. I'm going to say it again. I think the Telluride is the best in its class. I like the styling of it. Some people don't like it. For example, I have a colleague of mine. He was looking at that between the Palisade and the Telluride, and his wife didn't like the Telluride at all and went for the Palisade. Andrea, as you know on the channel, she's hung up on the Kia badge. I don't really care, the KIA. She doesn't like that, but I think it's a great product. Good on fuel too, with 3.8 liter engine. I have a 2011 BMW 335, great car. I just reached 100K, looking to upgrade. What's the best car for under 30,000? Want something sporty and nimble? I think you asked this last time. 2011 335. Why don't you look for a used 240? That's a hell of a car. Can you find one of those under $30,000? Something that's sporty and nimble under $30,000. Not sure what else I can say. Listen, if you got 100,000 K on your 335, maybe just look for a newer one. That's a great car, or a 240. Somebody's asking how fast is it? I think you're asking about my Cayenne diesel. It's the Cayenne diesel of the generation I had has the same torque as the Cayenne S. Doesn't have the same horsepower, but roughly the same torque. And torque is what you use. The only EV car that makes a profit currently is the Nissan Leaf. Pretty crazy. I'm not sure about that. Hey, Zach, from Montreal, any suggestions for best summer tires for my MX5? Merci. I would, listen, you can use a service like Tire Rack in the United States, you know, the big tire outlet. What you can do is you can type in your car and you can type in the kind of driving you do, and they will give you a bunch of suggestions. And then you can read the reviews of other people that have had those tires. So you can narrow it down. And then you don't have to buy from them. You can do a little bit of research them and then maybe get them from your local tire shop in Montreal. And the other thing is, I would strongly suggest going on an MX5 web forum and asking what other people have bought. For example, with my air-cooled 911 that I had, I had Toyo tires, the Proxies, the P1 Proxies, they're fantastic tires. But a lot of people went for, what was the name of the tire brand? It was a Korean brand. It was either Kumo, I think it was Kuma. They were Kumo tires. A lot of guys bought those, and I never would have thought of buying them, but a lot of people that had the car recommended them and said they were fantastic tires considering the price. So go on to an MX5 forum and see what other people suggest for tires. There might be something on there you maybe hadn't thought of, the way I hadn't thought of it. Danielle Morissette, hey, I used CarCox Canada to negotiate a dealer, saved on purchase price, then saved, where is it? Then saved on great interest rates, early March. Good for you. That's the thing, is you can get out there and you can get some great deals. Go in armed, carcostcanada.com, use the promo code MotorMouth, and you can get some great deals and the information you wouldn't know anywhere else. Hey, Zach from Coquitlam, what do you think of a used 2016 LR4? Is it unreliable as the rest of the Land Rover? I don't like the unibody Discovery 5. Yes, it's as unreliable as you've heard, but you know, if you really like it and you can buy maybe one that's 2 years old or 3 years old off lease and get a certified pre-owned one, and then you have protection, the vehicle is under warranty, that would be the way. If you really want one, that would be the way to buy one. Because, yeah, not known for being very reliable. And so what I would suggest is, if you're gonna have one, make sure it's under warranty. So look for a certified pre-owned version, one that's 2 or 3 years old. I have a CRF 250 and a XK 250. What's your favorite car? My favorite car is a 911 GT3 Touring. Hey, Zach, did you see the Audi A3 2020? If yes, what do you think about it? Thanks. Yeah, I saw it. It was released around the time of the Geneva Motor Show. It was supposed to be unveiled. They did a virtual release of it. That was the hatchback. I think it looks fine. I mean, the thing is, you can always tell with Audi and Volkswagen, they don't really move the needle along very much when it comes to styling. Yeah, Scott Myers is type chiming in about tires. The Kumo Xeta or whatever are good. So he's probably replying to that CX5. And that was the tire actually that a lot of the Porsche guys used. All right, let's see. It jumped around on me again. This chicken wing guy is chiming in with lots of chicken wing questions. Outback XT, that's the turbo, or CRV hybrid, or a RAV4 hybrid. Well, unfortunately, we don't get the CRV hybrid in Canada. A RAV4 hybrid is a fantastic product. I thought it over-delivered on what it was supposed to do. The Outback is very different than the other two. It's not a hybrid. It has the turbo engine and is more a station wagon. The other two are the classic sort of upright crossover shape. The Outback really is a station wagon and is more car-like to drive. Actually, not a bad handling car. So, yeah, if it was just pure economics and you wanted to get the best mileage, you can't go wrong with a Toyota hybrid. Good evening. What is the best pre-owned program, certified pre-owned for a premium brand is the best value? They all kind of match each other. Most of them, the most certified pre-owned programs, you basically get the regular warranty and extend it by 2 years. So for premium brands, for example, most warranties are 4 years. So you take that warranty and you extend it another 2 years. That's what most certified pre-owned programs offer. And then the corresponding mileage as well. So that's a pretty good explanation of how it works. Most of them are the same. If there are any idiosyncrasies between brands, I'm not privy to all of them right now, but have a look around. Other people are typing in here like Ravi's saying Infinity, but you know, have a look around. That's what most of them offer. Some people are saying there's no audio delay. Well, that's good. Tom says Mazda 3 hatchback or Toyota Corolla hatchback. The Toyota's $2,500 cheaper. Still get the Mazda. I actually really like the Corolla hatchback. Now, I'm not sure if you're buying automatic or you're buying manual transmission. I had a chance to drive the Toyota Corolla hatchback with the manual. It was fun. And the interesting thing is, here's what's interesting. Mazda built their brand on handling, zoom, zoom. You remember the ads? And they've gone to from an independent rear suspension to a torsion beam rear suspension. Where over at Toyota, they did the exact opposite. They didn't have the hatch. They had the IM from Scion, but it had torsion beam rear suspension. And then when they brought out the Corolla, it went to independent rear suspension. So if you look at it on paper, the Corolla might actually be better. Now, the automatic of the Toyota is a CVT, but it has a mechanical first gear. So what happens is that launch gear is a real cogged gear, and then that slides out of the way and it reverts to a CVT for efficiency. Drive them both and see what you like better. If it's manual transmission, the Corolla is worth trying for sure and might surprise you. Just bought a 2020 Veloster N in Shooting Star Matte Gray. Arrives this week. Can't wait. Watch the review on it from 2019. It's funny, I just watched a review too a little while ago. I was like, that's a pretty good review. So I hope you like it. Great car, lots of fun. You're going to like it. And I think that's a pretty cool color as well. Just going to go through some of these because I've been on for about an hour. I'm not sure what happens at about an hour. We get a lot more viewers coming on at the very end. Maybe I should do this a little longer, but I do have an appointment with the barbecue in a second. All right, I think we are up against the clock now. I've been on for over an hour. Maybe next time. So here's the thing. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button, the like, and all of those things. Please do that. It helps a lot. I'm going to be doing these every Sunday. Today's Sunday, Easter Sunday, Tuesday and Thursday at the same time. That is 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, which is where I live on the West Coast. So just if you don't get a question in now, I do read them all, but I will be back on Tuesday and then again on Thursday. And maybe we'll go a little longer next time because it seems that towards the end of the chat, more people pile on. So it's always good to tell me or to get in early. So thanks to everybody that tuned in, and I will be back on Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your Easter Sunday, and we'll talk next time. Take care, everybody.